Okay, g'day students. I'm back on the My Police Bundaberg website and I'm looking at the crime statistics for a few years now. Looks like 2002-ish or 2001 down to October 2019. And what I'm wanting to do is to make predictions. How many crimes will there be in the next month? So I'm in the middle of November when I'm making this, so we might just have to wait for a month or two to see if our predictions are going to be somewhere near accurate. So what we want to do is to go to this chart and we'll download the data. Now you can see that I've downloaded it already and I've converted it from a CSV format into just a normal Excel format. And what I might do is just grab a few years worth of data. So it's October and we're going to predict for November and December, hey? So what we want to do is collect, okay, we've done 19, 18, we'll go November, December, so we've got a few months worth of data there. And we'll just paste that, and here's the goal of what we want to do today. So that's something I prepared a little bit earlier just to help me remember and to help you remember what we're going to be looking at. So we're just going to paste those values. Now we want to actually, I'll control Z that, and oops, and I might just paste them across for the moment. So I'll just go transpose. So where's my little arrows? I'll have to go here and go transpose and just paste them across. So what are we going to do? We need to create some averaged seasonal indices over multiple years. I'm going to do that by dividing the raw data by the mean for that year. So let's do our indices. So we're starting off with December. We'll insert something there, and we'll call this 2016. And then we're just going to grab a few of these. In fact, I might just create a whole new box down here and just say January, Feb, and so on. And let's continue this down to December. That's good. I'll just move that out of the road for the moment. And we know that data for there. I'll just go Control C and Control V. Because we're predicting for 2019, I've just put that data in just to give me a little bit more information. 2018, 2019. Okay, so let's go grab the 2017 data. Control C, Control V. And now the 2018 data. Control C. Just using my arrows to navigate, just because that's a little bit easier. And then our 2019 values. Now this only goes up to October. So, and remember, we want to make predictions about what's going to happen for the rest of the year. So I've got a bunch of data, and it's in seasons. Well, it's monthly now, isn't it? So what we're going to do is just to create some seasonal indices. So remember, we do that by dividing each by the mean of the year. So let's go equals average. Now this one's quite easy, is it? I wonder what happens if we do that. Yep, that still works. So, and then we just divide that through by the average. So the average amount of crimes, although it's a poor year, because look, December, they look to be pretty high there. Okay, this looks like a less average crimes this year, more average crimes, and then more average crimes again. So this might skew the data because we don't have enough information there. So this might be interesting to see if it's particularly a seasonal effect as well. So remember, what we do now is we divide. Well, that's going to be a little bit of a pain. Let's just drag that across a little bit. And we'll call this what, 2016. 2017. So we're just doing our seasonal indices. So we'll create an index for each month now. So we do that by dividing each month by the index for the year. Oops. So that divided by that. Now, of course, that's going to be 0. And that might just play with our data a little bit crazy later on. But it will just help me speed up things to make it more efficient. And I might just shrink that down a little bit so you can see a bigger picture of what I'm working at. So now let's see if I drag that across. Am I making sense of what's happening? No. That one works, but that one doesn't because I'm selecting there. So what I will do is I will just say I don't want to move away from the N, so I'm just going to put a $sign in front of that. And I've got my 2 indices. So obviously December, they had a couple more crimes than November. If I copy down, let's see if this is going to work nicely. So I've got B11 divided by N11. So I'm in row 11, that's good, that's working well. And let's have a look at this one. I've got 2018 divided by that. Oh, I do need to write in a 2019 one as well. So once we're there, we can copy across. So I can select those 3 and just copy across. Now we have what we're after. Now I'm just going to delete those because we're going to predict them later on. And I'm going to delete those because I don't want to confuse this. And then let's just create the average of what we see here. Now the average of these 2 should equal 1. So what are we doing? We're just verifying now. Oh, and that's meant to be in that text box. So we're just at the process of starting to verify the trend as well. So just checking that all of these equal 1. That's good. And now we're going to just calculate the means of each of these above. And I'm just going to select that. So the average. Okay, so this is telling me what? 4.9% more in January than the average season. A little bit less in February, a little bit more, 9.7 in March, less in April. So it's up and down, down, up. Well, it's close to the 1, so it's only 2% down there. 2.5%, yeah, 5%, 0.5%, and okay. So we're seeing whenever it's 1, it's above the average season. Whenever it's below the 1, it's below the average season. Now, if I want to just think of them in percentage term, I can think of it like that as well. So you can see 105%, 98%, and so on. Okay, so what have we done so far? We have deseason. Oh, we do need to deseasonalize all this data now. And this is where we're going to go put it back up here and just have a look at what it's going to be like. So if I want to deseasonalize this data, so remember I need to get this number and divide it by your seasonal index, which is going to be that for November. I reckon we might be easier just starting off at January 2017. So 2017, and we're going to divide it by the seasonal index of 1.05. So we're just deseasonalizing. Now it doesn't make sense to have 0.92 of a crime. So I'm going to just leave it like that. And we'll do all of the 2017s. And let's see what this is saying. Okay, we're starting to move across into 2018. So I'll just drag that one over. And I'll drag this back to the January index. And I'll continue now with deseasonalizing the data by dividing the month by the index for the month in this case. And let's continue now with January 2019. And here we go. And divide that by the index of the year. Okay, now it's just showing you the hashtags because I've squeezed that in too much. So I did that just to make sure the numbers fit on the screen because that's pretty hard to see. And I will drag this over and just fix these up as well. So I've got a bad reference, so I need to go divided by the index of that one there. And ref, I'm off the page, so I need to say the November divided by the November index, and this one I'm just going to copy over. Okay, so deseasonalized data is more accurate for predicting. So I'll just enlarge this a little bit so you see what's happening here. So those numbers are back on screen. Now this is the raw data for the crimes for Wide Bay, and this is deseasonalized crimes for Wide Bay. Now we'll plot both and we'll just have a look at the trend lines for both. Okay, so we're going to go insert. Now it's appropriate this time to use a line graph than a scatter plot. The reason for that is that when we do a scatter plot, it's going to get the numbers confused here. And when we do a line graph, each of these categories are just treated as one. So if we start here, the line graph will treat that as month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, etc. So 2 plus another 12, it will treat this one, for example, as month 14, month 15. So let's graph all this data, and as I said, we're going to use a line graph now, and we'll do the dot to dot because it's time series data. And you can see that deseasonalizing the data is certainly removing the, well, it's smoothing it, I should say. And that's just annoying having that there, but I'll live with it for the moment. So now let's just add a trend line, and we're going to try to predict what's going to happen in January. Is that right? No, in November and December, both graphically and with the equation. So I'm just going to steal the equation off here. We can use the deseasonalized data equation. So y equals, that's a pretty hard one to read, Mr. Beasley. So 0.15x minus 4,600 and whatever it is. So, oops, I played with something behind that. So, and we can also predict by extending this out a couple. So I wonder if I drag and if that'll go out nicely. It will. So you can see that I can do this graphically as well. So let's go. Y equals 0.1537 times. Now remember, this is our x coordinate here, and then take away 4,648.4. Oh, that's not very nice. So let's just turn this into a number. So it predicts it to be 2,079 and this one to be 2,083. So you can see this is with deseasonalized data. I could also do it with this one here. So I could go add trend line and just display the equation on the chart and use that equation and plug that in there. So I may as well do that. Seeing I'm here and I don't want to have to do it again, so 0.1223 times my x value, take away 3,290.1, and just turn that into a number value for Excel. So we have, based on the raw data, 2062 based on the deseasonalized data, which you should be doing, is 2079. Now let's just look at this graph and we'll use it to make predictions as well. So I'm just going to, I'll leave one of them there because I don't want to lose it. Actually I will, and Let's just go Control X and Control V. So let's have a look what we can do to use our graph to help predict. So, sorry folks, that's going to do your head in a little bit there. So we're on the trend line. I'll delete the blue one, and let's format our trend line. So there's a couple of powerful tools here that Excel will use, and you can just go forward different periods. So we want for the next 2 months, so we can just go the next 2 period. Now if you want the next 14 months, you just type in 14 and it will automatically do that for you. Now that's going to be hard to read because there's a lot of white space there. So what I might do is just squeeze this up a little, and then we'll look at the axes values, and what we'll do is just right click on here and we'll go add minor grid lines, and might put in some minor grid lines here as well just to help us view it. So it's in the middle of the second square, and this one's just touching that square there. So if this line is 2000, then there's 5 spaces. Each of these has got to be 100. So it's saying around 2100 if we're hitting here for these 2 over here. And there you have it. You have predicted the next 2 months graphically and through the equation.